This is the most useful thing you can do with a pallet. This pallet was a bit long, so I trimmed off the top and removed an extra board and screwed that extra board to the bottom of the pallet. Next, I used 150 grit sandpaper to quickly sand the pallet. I placed it on a spacer to help hold it up, and then I fastened it to the side of our shed with screws, making sure it was level. I removed the spacer and loaded it up with my garden and yard tools. This is what the side of my shed looked like before, and this is how organized it is with my new DIY pallet tool organizer. What do you think? I hope this inspires you to get organized with pallets.
Now a word from today's sponsor, Sunjoy. Would you believe this beautiful gazebo came in a few boxes and I assembled it in just one weekend? I wanted to create an outdoor gathering spot that kept us shaded from the sun and bug-free in the evenings. This 2-tier vented 10 by 12 hard gazebo by Sunjoy was the perfect solution for my backyard. It was easy to put together with simple, straightforward instructions. I set it up on my lawn, but this can also be installed on wood or concrete. Its rust-resistant, powder-coated aluminum frame and steel roof will hold up nicely for years. The built-in solar panel has a USB connection to really upgrade the space. I connected an LED chandelier, but I can also charge a device from the outlet. The dual rail system holds mesh netting to keep bugs at bay. I like that there's a second rail to add curtains down the road. I'm now ready to relax and entertain in style this summer. Use the link in the description and code HOMETALK15 on your next Sunjoy purchase. Now, back to the DIYs.
I've come up with a genius way to help organize items around the house. First thing I did was head to my local Walmart and grab some bungee cords. Also going to need to buy some 1x4 pieces of pine. Our first board, we're going to mark it 10 inches. We're going to need 4 of these pieces. The next board, we're going to mark and cut at 14.5 inches. Again, 4 of these pieces. Our last marking that we're going to need is 24 inches or 2 feet. And you guessed it, we're going to need 4 of these. What we need to do is cut all of these boards. You can use a hacksaw, chop saw, anything you need to get them cut with a smooth edge. Again, let's reiterate. We're going to need 4 of the 10 inches, 4 of the 14.5 inches, and we're going to need 4 of the 24 inches. Now, we're going to build a box. Take the 14.5, lay it out, and the 2 sides are going to be the 10 inch. Take another 14.5 for the back. Line those up. On each side of the 14 inch, we're going to take 2 screws. We're going to mark right on the edge with 2 of them. We're going to make sure that we definitely have to pre-drill. This keeps the wood from splitting when we put the screws in. And you're going to need 2.5 inch size screws. Start to put those in, but don't drive them all the way through. That way, when you get ready to join them, half the job is already done. Once you go ahead and get those in, turn it around and do the same to the other side of the 14.5 inch boards. Line them up on the table. Make sure your edge is nice and smooth. Go ahead and use your drill and just put those the rest of the way in. You're going to do this with both sides on the top. When you're done, make sure they're smooth, just flush with the wood. Do it for the other side. That's how you're going to complete your box. Make sure you don't split the wood on the edge or anything, and this is going to be your top piece. We do need to make an identical piece for the bottom, just like this, these 2 here. Now, those 2 24 inches that we got, you don't need to mark those on the very edge, but you can stagger them and make sure you do pre-drill those again. It does keep the boards from splitting. Go ahead and start your screws on those. You're going to line them up on the short side of the box, 2 next to each other. Go ahead and fasten those in. Again, making sure you don't drive too far, but you make the head of the screw flush with the board. Go ahead and turn the board back over again, and you're going to take the last bit of your 24 inch boards and put those on there, fasten them down. You will then have a nice secure box. Our last is on the top and bottom. We're going to mark at the 5 and 10 inch, and we're going to pre-drill those. What we need to do is we're going to put some cup hooks in there. This is what's going to hold our bungee. We want to do it to the top and the bottom of the boards. The cup hooks go in nice. Just use the same size drill bit and secure those in there, making sure the hooks face away from the box themselves. Now, go ahead and put a little scrap piece on one of the sides at the bottom or the top, and then take that bungee, hook it around the cup hooks on the bottom, and go ahead and secure them on the top. And when we come back, I'm going to show you how I can fasten it to the wall, and it's got multiple uses. First, you can put it in the laundry room to hold up some paper towels. Take it to your daughter's room to make a stuffed animal zoo. Or let's keep those balls organized inside the garage. This is a great way for the kids to keep things nice and neat.
I've got an eyesore in the front of my house, and it's my garbage can, and I'd like to have some way to hide it from public view. I've got an inexpensive idea, and it happens to use pallets. I got a couple for free because I found them online, so I'm going to take the two best looking ones I got, and those are going to make the sides. What I'm going to do is get them squared up, and I want to make sure that they're just wide enough for the garbage can to go in and out without rubbing. Once I get it squared up and the sides are holding up pretty good, the next step is I got to cut some railings actually. These can be made out of 2x3s or 2x4s. Once they get cut, I'm going to measure about 7.5 inches down from the top. This is going to give me some good markings that I need to put each one on each side of the pallets. It doesn't take a lot of screws because not a lot of weight's going to go on there. Then I'm going to grab my reciprocal saw and I'm going to cut the less desirable pallet that's going to go on top. So all it takes is 3 good cuts. Once I do got this cut, what I can do is I could sand it down a little bit to make it look nicer, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and just slide it right on top. Take some care with this because when I put it on top, then I'm going to secure it with some screws. Once I got that, I want to go ahead and trim out the opening. I grabbed some old fence pallets that I had that were redwood, and I'm going to go ahead and just brad nail these on the top. I am also going to put it on the side. Now, it doesn't take a lot of nails to hold this in place because it doesn't weigh very much. So, once I get this on, I am going to go ahead and do the same on the sides. That way it looks more like a little bit of a door frame or anything when I put it on. Once it's all put together, then I can slide my garbage can in. Now, I want to decorate it. There's many options you can do. You can put some vines on the top around the sides, hang some pictures or anything like that. But I think it turned out really nice. Gets rid of that eyesore of just having the garbage can out front. I hope this motivated you to build your own inexpensive trash can enclosure.
Today I'm going to be making over my extremely old garage. This makeover was a must because the siding on my wood garage was rotting and needed to be replaced, especially before winter. Also, we recently had our home painted and the garage no longer matched. To begin, I used a paint scraper to remove any loose paint on my siding. This was important so then when I add the new paint does not flake off. I made sure I covered every area on my garage. Next, I used a crowbar and a hammer to remove any of the old and rotted siding. My husband tackled the areas that were up high and off the ground. Our siding is a 4-inch beveled cedar siding with a 2-inch reveal, so it's kind of difficult to find in the local hardware stores. We wanted to salvage what we could, so we only tore off what was rotted and desperately needed to be replaced. Once we had the siding pieces removed that were rotted, we caulked under the window using an exterior grade caulk. In the meantime, I began priming the areas of the old wood that I had scraped the paint off of that were now exposed down to raw wood. I used an exterior grade primer to cover these wood areas. Next up, I used our miter saw and cut new wood siding to the length and primed the ends of the raw wood with that exterior grade primer. Next, it was time to start hanging the new siding. We lined the exposed areas with tar paper that we cut with a utility knife and hung with staples on each stud. We lined the tar paper up right beneath the last strip of siding that was still on the garage. My husband created a shim template to ensure that our siding was evenly spaced and straight when we nailed it up with our 16 gauged angled finished battery powered nailer. Hanging siding is definitely easier with an extra set of helping hands. Next, it was finally time for the fun part, painting. We chose to paint our garage in the color of bare mountain pine to match our home. Unfortunately, our paint sprayer was not performing correctly and was spitting out bubbles, so I had to hand paint the garage, which really wasn't that bad at all. I used a 4-inch wide brush and was able to cover the entire garage fairly quickly. Once the exterior of the garage was painted, I wanted to change the look of our metal garage door. I purchased a garage door paint kit off of Amazon and got busy painting the base coat of tan paint on my garage door. I used the 2-inch angled brush and foam roller that came with the kit. The base coat covered very nicely and I was able to get it into all of the grooves of my garage door with the paintbrush and foam roller. Once the base coat of paint had dried, it was time to apply the stain. A mitt was provided in the kit I bought, so I used that to apply the stain. I added a little bit of stain at a time to the mitt using a painter stick, and then I rubbed it onto my garage door. I worked it in horizontal movements to make sure that I achieved the look of wood grain. I did 2 coats of this stain to achieve the color I was going for. Are you ready for the big reveal? I am so happy with how this project turned out. We finished just in time before the leaves started falling and fall was on its way. It was a lot of work to complete in 48 hours, but we did it, and now I can sit back and enjoy the way my garage looks every time I pull into my driveway. I added 2 planter urns that I purchased at Home Depot and added a little bit of greenery to each one. I also added a second set of carriage door hardware to make my garage door look a little more balanced. I absolutely love how this project turned out. My garage looks so much better than it did before. Thank you so much for joining me for this 48-hour flip.